There is a silent conflict happening inside millions of people right now. The battle between who they are and who they think they are supposed to be. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to ShiftRiseShine. What happens when a person spends years rejecting parts of themselves? The answer often explains deep seated anxiety and why so many people feel lost. When we don't accept ourselves, what do you think happens? Meaning, we fail to recognize our thoughts, we fail to recognize our emotions and the flaws without harsh judgment. The mind creates a gap that affects every part of our lives. Here is the breakdown of how that struggle manifests in our day to day lives. On the number one is the constant inner critic. Without self acceptance, your inner voice often becomes your worst enemy. Instead of being a coach, it acts as a judge that focuses heavily on your mistakes rather than your success. It uses your small failures as definitive proof that you are not good enough, and it replays the negative or embarrassing moments repeatedly, which builds chronic self doubt and you start doubting yourself. On the number two comes emotional exhaustion. It is physically and mentally draining to reject parts of who you are. This is called emotional burnout, which happens because you are constantly suppressing your unacceptable emotions, which you think like anger, sadness, or fear, pretending to be someone just to be liked, feeling disconnected from your true feelings, which eventually leads to high levels of stress and anxiety. On the number three comes perfectionism and the fear of failure. If you believe you are only worthy when you are perfect, you fall into a trap where perfectionism actually creates paralysis. You might set impossibly high standards and then avoid trying new things entirely because you are terrified of failing. You are terrified of trying new things. When things don't go perfectly, you just don't feel disappointed, you feel deep shame. On the number four comes difficulty in relationships. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for your daily interactions with others. When you struggle with self acceptance, you may seek constant validation from others because you can't give it to yourself. You ask for validation whether you are correct or whether you are wrong. You constantly seek validation, become overly sensitive to criticism, viewing any feedback as a total rejection, that you are not open to the criticism, withdraw emotionally, or become a people pleaser, like keep pleasing people in order to get their validation because you fear that if people saw the real you they wouldn't like you, right? It happens with most of the people in the relationships. They keep pleasing constantly in order to gain the validation. On the number 5 comes identity confusion. When you spend your life trying to meet external expectations, you can lose your authentic self. This often feels like you are simply playing a role in your own life and you are not owning it. You might find yourself changing your personality depending on who you are with. Like you are person A with a person 1, you are person B with a person number 2. No, the chain happens like this. You might find yourself changing depending on who you are with, eventually realizing you don't actually know who you are and what do you want. On the number 6 comes the reduced growth. Ironically, rejecting your flaws actually slows your progress. Real growth requires the stability and ability to acknowledge weakness and learn from your mistakes. When shame is involved, you tend to avoid facing the parts of yourself that need work, whereas self acceptance creates the psychological safety. necessary to actually change. So, these are the few of the struggles manifest when we don't accept ourselves. So, what do? It's a common myth that being hard on yourself is the only way to stay motivated. In reality, people who practice self acceptance usually become more resilient, calmer, and more authentic. It doesn't mean you stop trying to improve, it means you acknowledge who you are right now, including your imperfections, while you continue to grow. If you're feeling stuck right now, ask yourself these three questions. What part of myself do I struggle to accept the most? Where did I learn that this part of me was not okay? How did I treat a friend who had the same struggle? If you can answer these questions, then you are already on a way to self acceptance. Please comment and let me know. Thank you. Bye bye.